I want to share something that I shared on the panel this week when I was discussing quiet quitting and quiet firing. The problem in both of those phrases is the word quiet. It's a passiveness. A lot of researchers or people who've just written on the topic of quiet quitting will even say they don't like the phrase quiet quitting, that it's so much more than that, and it's not really quitting. It could be perceived as healthy boundaries. It could be you saying, pay me for doing extra. I don't have a problem with that. It's the quiet part. Even quiet firing is a very passive way to go about disciplining someone out of the organization. Let's make it hard for them. Let's write them up. Let's document things. Let's put them on an individual performance plan. How about let's talk to them? How about we don't assign them a training and just have an adult-like conversation about their lack of behavioral performance that is impacting their work and essentially your department's functioning in the organization. It's the quiet part, even the quitting. You've decided I'm going to pull back. I don't want to give more, do more. I'm not mad at that because there could be a number of circumstances causing you to say or do such a thing. It's in the quiet part. You do it without communicating or telling your leader, my need is not being met. I feel overworked, undervalued. I don't feel seen. I don't feel appreciated. I am busting my butt, and you got slackers who are not doing anything or barely getting the job done or doing the bare minimum, and I no longer like that. Or I don't have good work-life balance, so I got to scale back here at work and put me first. None of that is a problem. The quiet part is. So you quit quietly. That means you pull back without having an adult-like conversation. You fire quietly. Instead of sitting someone down and giving them the real deal, holy feel about their performance, I'd rather coach you out. You're not coaching nobody out. You're doing something extremely passive because we cannot stand the raw uncomfortableness of conflict. If you let conflict do what it needs to do, it will propel a relationship forward. You will learn something or do something differently because of that conflict. Stop being quiet about it. But I get it though, for real. There's a number of reasons you're quiet. And the number one reason is because you don't feel safe enough to tell your truth. More to come.
Hello everyone, this is Emmanuel Cook. We will be reacting to a new video today, so make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe down below, and let's get into the video.
I absolutely feel like my job is picking with me now because there have been a lot of issues that I'd never caused, and let's just get into it. I started working for this company in June of 2022, and right when I started, the company decided they wanted to give a 5% increase to all employees. I had already signed my offer letter, but I decided to ask, hey, am I going to get this 5%? Because I was at the tail end of, I guess people they were going to allow to have it, they decided to give it to me, which was great. At this point, I'm obviously ranting and raving to my dad and my sister about it because I was extremely excited. And come January of 2023, I have an automatic increase into my 401k, and I have to put in how much I make so I know how much they're going to take out. At that point, I remember thinking, why am I excited about this amount? This doesn't seem right. I went back to my second offer letter that they had to write up for the increase and realized that they paid me between $2,000 to $5,000 less than they were supposed to for the year, which I understand was an honest mistake. So we got that fixed. This also messed up my yearly review because we get a bonus at the end of the year. So it messed up my bonus and also messed up my yearly review increase. So they had to fix all of those. On that second offer letter, and even on the first one, it said I was going to get 20 days of vacation. It did not say anything about it being prorated for the first year. It just said 20 days of vacation. Obviously, I'm going to take my vacation because you can't get it paid out, and I'm not going to give away free money. So towards around October, November of the year, I decided I should start taking some of this vacation so I don't lose it. And when I tried to put in the days, they weren't going through automatically like they should because I'm a salary employee. Come to find out, they did not give me any vacation days really for the year except for I think 3. So they had to fix that as well, which is fine. All of these are honest mistakes that are easily fixed. No big deal to me. I haven't been telling the internet, but I am pregnant with my first child, and I had to tell my boss because there's like a little schedule I have to follow of things I need to do before maternity leave. So I told my boss, and she asked me how many weeks of maternity I'm going to take because she didn't know, which obviously nobody would know unless you're taking it. And I found out that I get up to 16 weeks. So I told her I'm going to take those 16 weeks because this is my first child and I'm going to have to get on schedule and I'm going to be recovering from surgery and just going to have to get into the swing of things. So I told her I'm going to take the whole time. And she said that's fine. But ever since then, I feel like she's doing little things to mess with me. So for instance, she sent an email saying if you are not getting communications from your client to reach out to the relationship person to see if they can get a hold of the client and get them to do what they're supposed to do. So I did that. And then in the meeting, she said, well, I didn't want you to do that. You needed to research more before you reached out to them. Part 2, I'm sorry.
What is quiet firing, and 3 signs that your manager is doing this to you? Quiet firing is when a manager fails to provide their employee adequate training, support, and development, causing that employee to leave. 3 signs that your manager is doing this to you. Number 1, most of their feedback is criticism, and often there aren't concrete examples behind it. Number 2, you start to feel out of the loop on things. You notice that you're not being invited to meetings that your colleagues are being invited to, you're being left off of email chains, etc. And number 3, when you do try to engage with them and talk about this, they avoid you. They try to redirect the conversation, or they cancel your one-on-ones altogether.
So I'm going to share a secret with you. Here is how to know when you're getting fired without actually getting fired. The term is called quiet firing, and this is where a boss will try to frustrate you out of a job without actually firing you. And these are the signs that this may be happening to you. 1, if you've been in your role for years, you haven't gotten a promotion, you haven't gotten a raise. That's the first red flag. Second red flag is if you see your peers or your colleagues getting promotions, getting raises, yet when you ask why they're getting it and you are not, and the boss cannot provide you with a clear answer. Third red flag is whenever you try to pin your manager down to have a conversation about your performance, your role, your work, whatever, they are always busy and can never find the time to meet with you. Fourth red flag is when you recognize that there is no investment being made in your learning, your development, or your growth. And the final red flag is when you begin to realize that you are now getting more low complexity, routine, mundane, administrative type work to do, and less of the strategic, innovative, creative work to do. Ultimately, the hack is to make you feel so disengaged, so demoralized, and so demotivated that you are going to begin looking for another job. And when you get it and you leave, then that would have been the manager's desired outcome. So now that you know the red flags, let me know if this has ever happened to you, is happening to you. It's a real thing that's happening in the working world.
Oh, sis, I agree wholeheartedly. That is exactly what they're doing. But if my coworkers know what's good for them, they'll stick around to the very end. Do not let a shady company get over on you like that. Don't do that. Don't do that. You deserve to be paid. They overhired. That's not your problem. That's a them problem. I agree, sis. I agree. I'll be here until I don't. I don't know if I'm going to fully stick around just because I have other opportunities knocking at my door. But with those other opportunities, the schedule is super flexible. I actually can make my own schedule. So I may just stick it out, sis. What you think?
As I reflect on my previous work experience, I have experienced a lot of quiet firing for a long time. And guys, from my experience, if you're a good, hard worker, you are the most susceptible to burnouts and quiet firing. Only because other people love to try to put their workload and responsibilities onto you, and it's not your issue. And the people who do this the most is the managers. They don't actually want to do their job. They just love commanding other people around and making other people take on their responsibilities. And I've quit a lot of jobs because of this sole reason right here. Lazy, entitled managers who refuse to do their work and actually want to put their responsibilities onto you. And so if that job is not in the role that I personally signed up for, I'm not gonna do it.
Okay, so we've heard of quiet quitting and we've heard of quiet hiring. What about quiet firing? I feel like this is a concept that's really common in really low-paying wage jobs like fast food, retail, service industries, where when a company doesn't want to fire somebody outright because then they can apply for unemployment and the company has to pay that, the company just takes the person off the schedule. The company will just, they're still technically employed, they just don't have any hours for them. And this, of course, is unsustainable to the employee, and so the employee has to quit to go find another job that will give them hours and pay them because they need money to survive. What is the legalities of that kind of stuff, of just taking somebody off the schedule but not technically firing them? I think it's called quiet firing.
Y'all, I cannot believe this. If you are in corporate America, stop right now. We got to talk about quiet firing. It's been going on for a while, and I am just learning the definition and learning that this is happening a lot. Let's talk about it. So the other day I made a video about how I had just learned about quiet quitting. And if you don't know what quiet quitting is, I'm actually going to make a video about that because I see a lot of confusion and some people are thinking that you're lazy. No, I then ran across quiet firing and I just cannot believe. And I can put a word and definition to what I am experiencing that is so validating. But in this video, let's talk about and define clearly quiet firing. And after this, let me know if this has been happening to you and you just did not realize it yet. Quiet firing is a practice where your employer, your supervisor, will subtly or passively do things to try to push you out of your role. They'll do everything besides fire you. Their goal is to make you so miserable, feel so defeated, feel so unsupported that you just say, I deserve better than this, and you quit. When I heard this definition, it dawned on me ways that I have been personally impacted by what seems to be quiet firing, even though you ain't gonna quit at all. You're gonna have to fire me at this point. Now that I'm hip to what you're doing, pardon me? Absolutely not. So quiet firing, how it looked to me is the following. The ambiguous workplace. Surprise, surprise. When management is not giving you clear direction, they are pulling you in several different directions and they are just ambiguous in their ask. And when you do something, it's not good enough or they send someone else to do it after you. That is so quiet firing. Also, I've encountered not giving me feedback, but going around to maybe like my manager who claims that she's on my side. The jury's still out on that. And because I work with several different managers, right? They would, instead of giving me feedback, they would go to her and complain about me. But the feedback to me would, if they were to give any at all, would be, oh no, this is great. I love this. I love this. But then to her, it'll be like, oh yeah, we can never get in contact with her, which is an absolute lie. So point blank period, the ambiguous workplace and not having clear direction and you kind of just spinning your wheels and trying to get feedback from them, but they're kind of like belittling you. That is a sign of quiet firing. Okay, so the next thing that I ran into, not including me in meetings. And I have talked about this before in a video before I knew what quiet firing was. If these people are not including you in meetings, leaving you out of important conversations that they know is pertinent for you to be involved in order for you to deliver on your job. And if they are leaving you out like that, they are trying to get you to quit. They are trying to quiet fire you. I just feel like so validated because I'm like, you keep hiding behind this ambiguous work culture and making it seem like if I can't figure it out, then I must be dumb. But really, you're just a poor leader and you're trying to get me to quit. Oh, wow. And of course, the most recent thing that happened to me is them cutting back or taking back projects or promotions that you were promised. That is a surefire way to try to get someone to quit because that just makes you feel so defeated and just so low. And they know that. And one surefire way that I also noticed is just not trying to develop me at all. I used to think maybe it was because I was a contractor, but really it's that you just don't want to develop me for whatever reason. And it's probably because you just kind of want me to quit. Some may wonder why a company would be quiet firing someone who's a great leader, who's making results, who's making an impact, who's coming in there, hitting it hard, overachieving and doing their job in spite of all of the obstacles that they are obviously facing with being a target of quiet firing. The simple answer to that is implicit bias, obviously just company culture, and ultimately a fear that if we do invest in you, if we do really allow you to shine, you're going to become too powerful. And a lot of people and a lot of managers are afraid to see their employees shine, so they would rather put them down. That's all I can think of. What do you think?
Guys, there's so many managers out here who are very insecure about their job position just because they're not actually good at their job. They know deep down that they're not doing their job the right way and that most people can do it way better than them. So in order to hinder you from moving up, they will frustrate you at that job. They will not give you the proper tools to actually do your job the right way, the proper support. They will not give you any of those things. And you are left there to fend on your own, fend for yourself. A lot of people do that, man. A quick reminder, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe down below, and let's continue the video.
Do you guys remember that OG quiet quitting vlog? Like, it went viral, millions of views, got the attention of a bunch of news articles, and sparked this conversation about what quiet quitting truly is. Now, I didn't want to stitch the original creator's video because in this follow-up article, they're using a pseudonym, so I'm just going to respect their privacy. In this follow-up article with Business Insider, RIP quiet quitting, layoff fears have workers back on the grind. The creator who made that original viral quiet quitting video did a follow-up interview with Insider. Just summarizing what's being said in this article, one of the first documented cases of quiet quitting was with a recruiter that the author calls Justin, and it's basically Justin working 30 hours instead of 40 hours. You see right here, it was Justin, in fact, who helped spark the national debate about quiet quitting. The original creator of that video that I'm talking about is no longer quietly quitting. Performance reviews seem to be getting together. Some of his colleagues were let go. It made me nervous. He told the author of this article, "It hit me that I'm the only one who's working in my family." And he decided to play it more safe. Now, this video isn't really about the creator. It's actually about media, and that's whether it's an article or a TikTok video. You cannot and should not base any career decisions that you make based on one TikTok video that you see. I always say you should use content that you see on any platform to inform you, but not to define the decisions you make. And I mentioned this before in a video when I talked about quiet quitting. I said that if you do quietly quit at your job, it could be at your own detriment. And no, it's not because I believe that people should be acting above their wage, but it's for circumstances like this. Like, we have this movement where we're like, okay, everyone in our generation or whatever is going to quietly quit our jobs, but a lot of people are unable to hold the line and actually quietly quit or walk away from corporations that are underpaying them because they need money to survive, capitalism. So it just becomes this continuous cycle of different generations coining a term or an initiative of quietly quitting or acting our wage. Now, as it relates to just articles in general, because I saw another article from Business Insider. This was the one. Gen Z actually hates working from home. Now, I personally don't know that to be true. I think working from home definitely has more to do with people's personalities rather than what generation they belong to. But it just kind of felt a little bit like corporate propaganda to me. Making these big statements on articles saying like Gen Z doesn't like working from home kind of supports the narrative that we're in right now, where we're seeing a decline in remote jobs and an increase in in-office jobs because companies want people to come back to the office. And then also with this quiet quitting article, is it like corporations kind of wanting people to stop quietly quitting? Obviously they do, but yeah, you just have to read the information and let it inform you, and you go from there. But what are your thoughts on all of this?
I just got off work and I saw a video of an older gentleman talking about quiet quitting and how like our generation is just lazy and we don't want to work for anything, and how we're never going to be able to go get the brand new house or the new car because we're not putting in the extra work. Most of the videos and most of the takes that I've seen are very polarizing. It's one, just the older generation saying that the youth is lazy and whatever, and the younger generation saying that like you don't see the hard work that we're putting in. I think there's validity in both, and I think what older generations are having a really hard time conceptualizing is that we're fucked. I work a minimum wage tips job position, and if I were to ask any of my coworkers that are around my age when they're gonna buy their first home, they're going to laugh at me. They're gonna laugh because they don't know if they're gonna be able to pay rent next month. One of the main talking points that my generation uses is, well, it was a lot cheaper to buy a house back in the day, and you could work a minimum wage job and put in the extra hours and actually buy a home. I think that's the biggest point that's going over a lot of people's heads that are complaining about quiet quitting and that this generation doesn't want to work. The reality is many of us that are in my age or a little older or a little younger are working jobs that do not care about us as people. And I'm going to say that again because I think that's a very, very important distinction that a lot of people are forgetting. I am not going to fucking kill myself over a job that doesn't care about me as a human being. I am not going to put in a 60-hour work week and pull myself up by my bootstraps for a job that does not care about me as a person. Oh, you're being sensitive. Oh, you just want your feelings. No, I'm saying the bare minimum is that if I'm sick or if I have a family emergency, that job's not going to be like, oh, it's your responsibility to find someone to replace you. So many people my age are coming to the realization that we're just fucked. The idea and the notion that we're just able to buy a home in this climate just by putting in some extra hours is outrageous and honestly just so ignorant. 50 years ago, yeah, you could work at fucking McDonald's and put a down payment on a house in your mid-20s. In today's date, that is not possible. Now, let me rephrase that. It is possible. If I work an 80-hour work week, don't go out ever, don't do anything I enjoy, don't take a day off for mental health, for physical health, for whatever, eat ramen noodles for breakfast, lunch, and dinner for a couple years, and then maybe I could get approved for a loan, pay off this loan on top of the crippling student loans many of us are in. And then after a couple years of literally killing myself, I can own a home. And you can't just say, oh, people are lazy for not wanting to do that. I'm not even taking into consideration, I don't know if we're going to have a sustainable world in 50 years. I'm asking a genuine question here. Why, as a 22-year-old individual, would I do all of this work to save up for a home in some place that I probably don't want to live in, because chances are I can't afford to live where I want to live, purchase that home, and then not even know if we are going to have a sustainable world to live in 50 years from now? Why would I want to raise kids in a world where I don't know if they're going to have clean air to breathe in 50 years? It all comes back down to you had the privilege of growing up in a world where there was hope and opportunity, and we don't.
Sometimes I get asked, what do I do if I have a bad review on my performance evaluation or if I have received a PIP? Is that a sign that I need to get out? And in most cases, typically I would say, hey, let's just take a second. Let's figure this out. What are they saying? What do you need to do? Not anymore. I'm not saying that anymore because in the last few months, the amount of people that have come to me with this almost like refusal to give any kind of feedback, any kind of direction of people that have been at their companies 5, 7, 10 years, and then them being slapped with a PIP, and then basically being told you have 30 days to remedy this like ridiculously put together plan, or you can see yourself out with or without severance. It kind of depends, is astonishing. The quiet firing is very loud right now.
She ended up giving me an ultimatum to choose between myself or the company. I refused to allow anybody to hold me back. So I quit on their ass. She was like, did I make you quit? Yes. I told her, yes, you did make me quit. You did force me to quit because you're making me choose between my career and this company. I don't have any stocks in this company. I don't have any investment into this company. I don't own any parts of this company. So why do I want to stay here and allow you to try to run my life? No, we're not doing that. If you have a boss who gets jealous of you because they see your success, be careful of that boss.
Hey jurors, if you are thinking about quiet quitting at your job, let me tell you why you just might want to rethink it. There's a new lawsuit that a New York law firm filed against one of their attorneys for quiet quitting. Let's talk about it. Okay, so here's what happened. This attorney, Ms. Palmore, was working for this law firm in New York when Ms. Palmore decided that she was going to quiet quit. Now, y'all have seen this trend going all over TikTok. All the corporate baddies are talking about how they are quiet quitting. They're doing the bare minimum. They are not doing what they're supposed to be doing or what they were hired to do on their jobs. So basically, Ms. Palmore was like, look, I'm just here to collect my check, not do no work for y'all. Well, y'all, Ms. Palmore took the quiet quitting just a little bit too far. Not only was she collecting a paycheck, working at this law firm, but not working. She was also running her own law firm, completely separate from them as a competitor. Now, child, Ms. Palmore, you know. So they are suing her for breach of contract, breach of fiduciary duty of loyalty, aiding and abetting. I mean, unjust enrichment, everything you can think of, they are suing her for. So for all the corporate baddies that think it's cute to quiet quit, be very careful. There is probably some type of employment contract or something that explains the exchange of a paycheck for services that you are to provide as an employee. So if you think that you're just going to sit on somebody's clock and get paid and not work, you got another thing coming. Now, even though Ms. Palmore is a lawyer and she was running another law firm, I do think that I would also advise you, if you decide to quiet quit, you also want to be careful with having more than one job where you're dividing your time. Because if you can't possibly work and fulfill your duties at both, you could also be in some danger of this happening. Jurors, you know I want to hear from you. What do y'all think about this quiet quitting? I will just say I'm not a fan of it. I worked at a law firm and had a plan to leave that law firm for over a year before I actually left. But I was a good employee the entire time that I was there. I did not start my law firm until after I left. I literally left on Friday and started my own law firm on Monday. I just believe you get what you give. And so if you are that type of employee, guess what? When you become an employer and you're running a business, because if you want to have a successful business, trust me, you are going to have to hire people. And to be honest, that's actually the worst part of entrepreneurship. But if you want people, you want to attract people that are good and loyal to you, I just believe you got to be that way when you're working as well. So I ain't no quiet quitter, and I ain't tolerating no quiet quitters. And I ain't raising my kids to be no quiet quitters. No, if you got a job and they paying you, do what you're supposed to do. That might be the Gen X old school in me. I just don't believe in it. But I want to know what y'all think. Let me know in the comments.
Guys, be very careful with quiet quitting. Be very careful with that. When you applied for that job and you did the interviews, they asked you, can you actually do this role? You were hired on for a specific role. Do your job and do it well. Other people are counting on you. That company is counting on you. Your teammates, your coworkers, they're counting on you to do your job well. And if you do not do it well, other people suffer. And so whatever you agree to in that contract for that position, do it and do it very well. Anything outside of the contract that you agree to, that is not your responsibility. If they want you to do extra stuff, let them pay you for the extra work. But whatever is in your job role, do it and do it well.
My toxic job tried to fire me quietly. It's not a recent job. This is something that I had like in the beginning of my career. I worked for this company. I will never forget the way that they tried to push me out without actually saying it. Everything that I was doing at the time, I continued to get wrote up for it. It could be the smallest things. Me and someone else would do the same thing, and I still would get written up for the same thing. It was not until one day where I was presented with a write-up because a client was unhappy, and instead of my manager at the time kind of asking what happened and really looking at the situation and seeing that it was no one was at fault, what they did was call me into their office, presented me with the write-up. I then refused to sign the write-up, and they left the room very angry, came back and said that the CEO said that I can go. I then went back to my desk, packed my bags, and left, and never saw that company again. It did not affect me until I tried to go to unemployment, and unemployment came back and said that I created a hostile work environment on the day that I left. It was stated that I was screaming in the office and going back and forth with my manager, which did not happen. Not only were they trying to push me out, which they ended up successfully doing, they also tried to not pay me unemployment at the end. In the end, I ended up getting it approved because they saw that the company obviously wasn't telling the truth.
So at some point, I don't know why we keep on like making up words or definitions for things that already exist. For example, I was reading the other day how there's this new trend called micro retiring. So basically it's when you take a break from your career with no plans or scheduled date to really go back because you just need a break from burnout. And I'm like, isn't that just called unemployed? Like you don't have anything set up, so you're just unemployed. Or like another word that I've heard lately is quiet quitting, where basically like you're employed still, but you're not really doing your work. Like, isn't that just called working? Like, I don't understand how that's anything, like there's anything different than what we normally do. So why do we need to like make up words for it? Please explain.
Guys, I don't actually know when this trend started, where now we have words for literally everything that happens in our lives. I don't understand that. We already had the words to describe those things. Now, why are there new words? And now we have to learn all of these new terms and things like that. I don't know why this happens, but it has to stop. Who keeps on creating these new terms, honestly? And I feel like every year there's like 10 to 20 new terms that are now mainstream that we actually have to learn just to still be in the know and be hip or whatever. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, at the end of the day, stop it with all of these terms.
So many of us have heard of quiet quitting, but have you ever heard of quiet firing? Because I think these are the signs that you are being quietly fired in your workplace. And this also includes if they're trying to push you to voluntarily resign instead of them actually trying to find ways to get rid of you. But here are the signs. So the first one is your workload drops to nothing. So that big project that you had, not there anymore. The tasks that you used to do, reassigned to somebody else. Now you're just basically doing little bits of admin. The next one is you're left out of meetings that you should be in, and even meetings that you would normally be incredibly active in. And they might tell you there was a calendar glitch or we didn't really need you. Your manager is suddenly unavailable. The emails that you sent, ignored. Your one-on-ones, they're gone. There's basically no feedback. It's like you've been left on red professionally. No promotion, no raise, no explanation. Ignore that typo, please. Basically, it feels like no matter how much hard work you're putting in, you're not getting anywhere in the company. You're not getting any growth. Everybody else is moving upwards and onwards, and you feel like you're still stuck in 2022. Your work is suddenly not good enough. I mean, you're not even getting specifics in an explanation. It's just all vague, and you have no idea how to correct the situation.
You're being isolated. So with this one, it's like you're not included in any of the emails, any of the work hangouts, the team buildings. You're not given any information about certain projects. You're just on the outside looking in, wondering what's going on. And last but not least, you're given impossible or unreasonable tasks. They're making sure that they set you up for failure. No matter what it is that you're trying to do, you're just not going to be able to succeed. A project that would normally take 4 or 5 days to complete, they want you to finish it by close of business. It's just difficult. It's unreasonable. So do you feel like this is a comprehensive list, or have you noticed other signs from a workplace if you were quietly fired?
I appreciate you guys watching the video today. Please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe down below, and I'll see you guys in the next video.